thank you first of all for granting me the interview. So,
of course.
This is Seth. Seth was recently one of my students for the New York City refrigeration exam, and proud to say, like everybody that worked in Seth's group got their refrigeration license. Working with you guys, I have to say, was one of the best experiences that I've had as a teacher. Just, I've never seen a group of people work so well together towards a common goal, and I was very just excited about it.
Well, I was excited. I think it was a very good class. I've taken a number of classes and trainings and so forth in the industry, and I would say that taking your class course was my best experience out of all of those, including classes at NYU and Cornell and other places. But I think that the mix of it being somewhat hands-on, book learning, and also a long period of time with online learning, hands-on learning, meeting regularly, the opportunity to ask questions, the fact that you're highly available to your students and respond quickly to almost anything, sometimes too quickly, to the point it seems almost scary. I appreciate, I know the other members of our group, all of whom work for me, but all of them appreciated it too. My impression, and at least in terms of our group, everyone from our building that took the class passed the exams, which was good to see.
It was the first time I'd worked with people working in a company where there was stratification. Everybody was at a different level. There were some people who were mechanics. There were some people who were property or resident managers and property managers. You were the boss. So was that like a weird situation for you?
I certainly was. I was concerned that if I didn't pass, it would look it would reflect poorly on me.
Everybody took the test before you, right?
They did. In a way, having a license does nothing to forward my career. Yep. Most likely, I don't expect to have a hands-on job.
No.
Most likely, again, in my career, and it's not something that I need in any way. On the other hand, when the group said that they were taking the class, actually, in a way, I took it just as a whim, as something that I thought would be interesting to see what we were supporting amongst the staff learning, and I figured I would learn something out of the experience. Mm-hmm. I learned much more than I expected. I thought it was a really good experience, and it was also good to see the whole group, from our handymen and property manager, resident manager, take the class, learn a lot, receive the recognition of passing the test and receiving the certificate. But I think it was an opportunity to focus on some of the things that I knew. I knew something about the refrigeration cycle going into it. It was both a refresher, and we went very deep into some of the items, certainly in terms of the kind of practical hands-on things that I had not spent much time in my life focusing on, but does a lot to help one understand the more scientific or big picture aspects, to really think about how the refrigeration cycle is working and talk about the different refrigerants and things like that, which is something that I've never spent any time thinking about. And I found it both interesting and rewarding.
Has it changed your impression on what the job of, say, the mechanics or, say, the service technicians that come into your facilities, like it gives you a greater appreciation for what they do, or do you have actually some skepticism, like, you're not doing that right?
If anything, it increased my appreciation for what they do, because it's not an easy process just to pass this exam. Overall, it doesn't change my point of view too much. There's some techs that I know are tremendously smart and amazing people. We also have the occasional tech that fell asleep in our game room a week ago.
Oh,
which is part of the industry.
Were they key codes, or were they repairing something in the game room?
I'm not sure what. I sent an email to the owner of the company asking them to be sure to send people that are at least smart enough to sleep in the back of house.
Yeah.
So you have a mix and a range of things. Obviously, you know, I have to respect and do respect that the people in the service side of the business have a lot of skills in many cases. You know, it's also the job of the building staff and my side to make sure that they're utilizing it and working hard for us. And I think most of the time they do.
Would you want your building staff to be able to do more of the servicey things instead of having to bring in outside companies? Or, I mean, just for insurance purposes, I know it's always good to have outside coverage.
It depends on what it is. There are many things from an insurance standpoint that we wouldn't want the building to do. It's just not, it's not wise. We're not insured for it. I think it's very good for the building staff to have a strong knowledge, to understand what the service techs are doing, and to be able to make sure that they're doing their jobs. Because, you know, as we all know, all of us are busy in our jobs. In many cases, if it's easy to cut corners, corners will be cut. And I look at our handymen, the resident manager, our porters, property managers, you know, and people at my level. A big part of our job is to make sure that those corners aren't cut, that we're buying something, we get what we paid for, you know, that it's a fair price for a fair level of service. And if you don't know what the job is, in many cases you'll still pay for it, but you won't get it.
What is your opinion on employer investment in employee training? Because I was told there was a gentleman that didn't continue in the course with us, which is, you know, unfortunate since everybody who took the test passed. So from an employer perspective, is there hesitance sometimes to invest in employee training if you feel you're not gonna?
So we did have somebody that signed up for the course that.
That's a credit. You have a credit with me if you want to jam somebody else in. So.
Well, thank you. That didn't really move forward, and separately from that, he ended up having his employment with us separated. You know, for whatever personal reasons, he stopped performing in general. Yeah. But I would say, in terms of investing in employees, certainly we have some hesitance that we don't want to waste money as employers. And, you know, I have people that work above me that occasionally say, you know, do you want to invest? Don't invest too much. You don't want the people to all leave you too, right? Yeah. Gaining a refrigeration license is a career opportunity that, you know, could result in turnover of the staff. But that said, I guess my point of view is typically I don't hire people that I think necessarily are going to be in that job for the rest of their lives and their careers. We look to be a source of learning and benefit from people's abilities while they're there. Sometimes people move on, and that's fine. And overall, I think that investing in people's growth and the staff's growth is important, and it's something that you know, I put a lot of focus on. I think training is incredibly important in helping the staff grow and learn, and ultimately I think we get back more than we put into it typically. Occasionally something doesn't work out, like the person I referred to, but the value overall is still much greater. I think out of 6 people we put forward for the class, 5 of us passed, 5 of us got a whole lot out of it. It was a wonderful experience, and you know, the value from those 5 vastly outweighs the investment from the company.